Greetings and salutations, and welcome to episode 205 of Ref the District. I'm Nathan Perry, that's Trev, and today we are joined by the two gentlemen of District Divided, a DC sportscast, more specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. Today we'll be talking about the Sunday Night Falcons. It's Sunday Night Football against the Falcons. Washington has two playoff clinch scenarios. Either they beat the Falcons or they go into that game having already clinched because the Bucs lost. We'll be talking about that in the cool down. During the game, we're going to be talking about how the future is now. How far can Jayden Daniels take these Washington Commanders with the playoffs all but locked up? How far can they go this year? How far can they go in the future with a talent? Of course, we're talking positively about this team because they did beat those Philadelphia Eagles. That's going to be our topic for the warm-up. The Washington Commanders went into that game as underdogs, and then they went down by double-digit score early on. And if you were heading over onto Bet Online, you would have been able to bet on the game live. And I bet you those odds would have been astronomically low that Washington would have come back. But Jayden Daniels ends up throwing 5 touchdowns, 1 in the closing seconds. And that would have been fantastic to bet live on. And you can get all that information over at Bet Online. Use the code BELIEVE, BLEAV, to get yourself a little welcome bonus. And maybe NFL isn't your game. Don't worry, NBA, NHL, and UFC, and anything you want to bet on sports-wise, they've got it over there, and all the up-to-date information. That's Bet Online, where the game starts. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Amit and K-Dot here from District Divided, joining us on a Thursday night, not our normal night. Hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas. That was yesterday. We will return to streaming live on Wednesday night at 7:30 Eastern here on YouTube and Facebook. Of course, if you're watching this right now, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel, and K-Dot,
share this share it, baby, just share it.
Appreciate K-Dot for jumping in on that one as well. And of course, if you're listening to this on your favorite audio platform, make sure you leave us a rating in the review. I think that's all the housekeeping I've got to get through right now. Gentlemen, again, thank you for joining Trev and I tonight. Stoner is out on vacation. He won't be returning until the instant reaction for the playoff game. So he's out for a couple of weeks here, but we do appreciate you filling in. Stoner will be pleased to know that it took 2 people to take his spot this week.
Absolutely. No, thanks for having us, Nathan. Really appreciate it. And Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you guys. Hope you guys had a really fun holiday. Of course, the win on Sunday made it that much more enjoyable.
Just so much better than Thanksgiving, right? Thanksgiving was ruined by a loss to Dallas, and this was just so much better with the win against Philadelphia.
Yeah, absolutely.
About that Dallas loss last year. Anytime anybody says Thanksgiving to me, it just hurts. But thanks for having us on. It always feels good to get on our the adult platform, the adult podcast, compared to what it is, the clown show that we've got on our channel. Yeah.
District Divided remains one of the best Washington Commander shows. You can head on over to District Divided. Make sure you subscribe to their channels. Of course, like their videos and share them as well. Trev, my man.
Yeah, dog.
We lost our dang minds on Sunday during the instant reaction. We've had a few more days to settle in and also celebrate Christmas and also just drink the salty tears that are Philadelphia Eagles fans right now. Yeah. How are you feeling about this win against the Eagles a few days removed?
Never saw it coming, but I'm so glad it happened. Was ready to give up on this game pretty much in the first quarter, second quarter. But, in order to play with the big dogs, you got to beat a big dog, and that's exactly what we did. We came out with a bunch of 1-year, 3-year contract guys, a bunch of Jags from everybody else, and created this roster. We took down arguably one of the best teams in the NFL. I don't care who's playing quarterback. Quarterback doesn't play defense. That's all you kept hearing about all year for Philadelphia, how strong their defense is, which I'm not saying that they're not, but you can't put this loss on Kenny Pickett because when he came in, he was still throwing dimes. He threw a one to A.J. Brown. He threw one to Donovan Smith, but he dropped it, thank gosh. But, yeah, we just came out, never gave up. Fans gave up. A lot of fans I know gave up, but the team didn't. That's what matters the most. And we just, came out there and just put foot to what and got the job done. And, shout out Jamison Crowder and Olamide Zacchaeus, 2 touchdowns apiece. Never saw that coming either, but it's kind of like, showing that they still got it, as far as depth goes, because outside Terry McLaurin, let's be honest, who else is going to score a touchdown for us at the wide receiver spot? Noah Brown's hurt. KJ Osborne's been there for 2 weeks, but we don't play him yet. And then Luke McCaffrey is just now our return guy, so I guess he's getting limited.
He looked good there, though. He looked
really
good
I like
there.
Pro there. So then it leaves OZ and Jameson Crowder, which are pretty much the same kind of receiver, same kind of player, same height even, but it worked out for us. So
Jamison Crowder's second game back and had a fantastic game there against the Eagles.
And just the way Jayden Daniels overcomes turnovers and overcomes 3 and outs and just overcomes bad plays, he's never rattled. I've never seen that kid rattled. Like the only time he looked rattled was when he was injured, and that's just because he was injured. He was uncomfortable. He wasn't ever rattled. So it's just great to see that we have somebody with, his capabilities as a rookie to lead us down and get this victory over a top dog in the division too. So.
Yeah, overcoming 5 turnovers on this game. You mentioned that defense, giving up 36 points. Number 1 defense coming into this game, K-Dot. And, Trev alluded to the fact that everyone was pointing to the fact that Jalen Hurts went down. And maybe it is a different game if Hurts was playing. But, Kenny Pickett didn't do too much. The Washington defense came to play, stopping Saquon Barkley. I think it was like 40-some-odd yards in the second half after an amazing first quarter. What does it mean for the team, K-Dot, that they win this game having turned the ball over 5 times?
It goes to what Dan Quinn and what the message has always been. You're doing hard stuff with great people, right? So it's how it is they overcome. Look, a lot of this game was just a lot of through lines that I've seen in other games where it's like, you guys don't have the talent to be out here beating yourselves. Like you can't do that, right? You got to execute. You got to get stuff done. And they didn't hit the clip that they needed to in this particular game, at least especially early on. And they still overcame it. I think more than anything what this is an indictment on the quarterback that we have. And the fact that look, I've tried to figure out a lot about Jayden Daniels over the course of this season. And what I'm realizing now is the only thing I worry about is whether or not he's smiling or not. If he's smiling, I feel good about any sort of situation we're in. The only time that smile was off his face was coming off that injury. And you could click, I can't do everything I want to do. This does not make me happy. I'm not a happy person. And once he's got his full complement, it's like, even me and Ahmed always talk about early on in the game, if you see him overthrow the receiver, you got a good game from him coming.
You better look out.
He's giddy.
He's excited. He's got those jitters. Yeah.
And you want that. You want that energy. And you feel that the entire team feeds off of that. This is, like I said, a team that you can see from a talent gap sort of standpoint. We are far exceeded where it is our talent is as far as over the course of the season, right? So what does that mean? It means you've got to work harder than anybody else on the field. So, and I love seeing that in those moments. And to go up against, like you said, the number 1 defense in Philadelphia, division rival, team you can't stand, and hear all the excuses afterwards. It doesn't matter. You beat those guys. At the end of the season, what? We split the series with Philadelphia. Did anyone expect that? No. This is great. And I don't know about you guys, but because we're playing with house money, the way we're playing with house money, I want to see them boys in the playoffs. I can't wait to see them boys in the playoffs.
Oh, and I'm so excited to talk about that in the game, about how far they can go, because it is just, the saying that we have in our group chat is right. Is if 5's playing, what is it? 5 we're alive is how I think we're putting it in the group chat right now, because he's electric. And you're right. He gets this team going, and they never felt out of it in this game. And there's been a couple of games like that this year where you just knew this team was going to fight and claw back. And I love that that's part of their identity, is not giving up, because there's been some issues with the identity, and they've, the 3-game losing streak, we weren't so high on them. They barely beat the Saints, and we were kind of like, hey, is this a good team? And then they go out and win despite throwing, or turning the ball over 5 times and giving up 33 points, being down 21-7 in the first quarter. Insane that we knew that entire game. At least I knew. I'll say that. As soon as Kenny Pickett came in, I was like, we're not losing to Kenny Pickett. We're gonna win this game. And maybe to that fact, Amit, that Jalen Hurts would have played a different game. Maybe we would have seen more like that third quarter drive from the Eagles where they took up 8 minutes of clock. But here's the thing that I don't understand from the Eagles fans. I've listened to Eagles fans all year long, despite winning game after game after game, trash Hurts over and over again. But the moment he goes down, all of a sudden he is the linchpin for this offense. How many times, Ahmed, have you heard from Eagles fans, Coach Lombard, right, who hasn't joined us in a while here, but how many times have you heard that the offense runs through Saquon and you can just plug and play any QB there, and Hurts just does just enough to win games?
Well, I mean, how many seconds are in a day? It's about that many times. I mean, every other tweet is about how they can do this with just about anybody. The moment Kenny Pickett comes in, I know we felt change. You had just mentioned it, Nathan, that we're not losing to Kenny Pickett. And it took them a little bit of time to figure that out too, because when they handed it off to Saquon Barkley and they went up 21-7, there is a friendly reminder. They've got a running back in the MVP conversation. Maybe they're on to something. Maybe they can win with just about anybody. But as the game progressed, Frankie Louvu completely fools Kenny Pickett into that throw. He picks him off. All of a sudden, it's, oh, no, we got ourselves a game here. Jalen Hurts is very, very important to what we do. So they're going to continue to monitor his status. He may not go this Sunday. So they may get yet another opportunity to see what they look like without him. But to speak to our team and its resilience, like K-Dot said, just doing hard stuff with great people, they showed that. They showed that this past week, and the vibes are at near all-time high right now. Certainly with this group, but in the last decade or so, like the vibe is absolutely immaculate right now. Eagles, they'll be fine. They'll end up winning the division. I wouldn't be delusional to say, oh, we got that. No, I think they
Cowboys and Giants, the Eagles remaining schedule. They would have, Kenny Pickett would have to be epically bad for that. Correct. To
well, they could, to their credit, against the Giants, who will be very, very interested in losing. They could have 0 pass attempts, just hand it off over and over, and they'd win. So they'll be fine there. But I'm curious to see what we do moving forward in these next couple games here.
Yeah, it should be good. We'll definitely talk about that more, especially against the Falcons there. But first, we got to talk about doing hard things with good people. How about the good people in the chat? Locked on Law, Nathan in the house, Mike H as well, Scooby from across the pond, JG is here, Timothy teasing our man Trev up there for the name pronunciations being egregious. Yeah, we never pretend to know it. I mean, come on, we call him Iggy because we can't get that.
You know what I'm talking about? That's all that matters.
Yeah. Nathan had broke out the Washington Santa hat with a smile. Yeah, it felt good to be there. Todd was unable to watch the game because he was working, and it's been a while since he's jumped on. We appreciate you jumping on today, especially because this is not our normal time, and Doug is in the house. 7:30 snuck up on him. Don't worry, we appreciate you being here, Doug, for this. Stoner even here in the chat as well. You can talk to Stoner as it's supposed to say help or hello.
Yeah,
I was wondering. Thank you for clarifying that, Stoner, because I was a little concerned we needed to reach out to you, like you lost your wallet in the Philippines or something. Maybe if you lost your wallet, we've got a man. Yeah, $10 super chat here. Thank you, Ted, for that. I feel like the series between the Commanders and Eagles evened out. Both teams felt like they dominated for most part in their losses. I'm looking forward to a third matchup in the playoffs. How about you two gents? Are you three gents? Are you guys, yes or no, looking forward to a matchup between these teams in the playoffs, which is likely a 2 and a 7 seed that's going to be matched up against each other?
Yes. So badly, yes.
I'm going to go no. I'll explain that I'll explain it now. Here's the thing. If Jalen Hurts doesn't get knocked out of the game, K-Dot and I talk a lot about complimentary football. His presence alone on a 4th and 1 or a 3rd and 2, we talk about that sustained drive they had in the third quarter. They only need 1 or 2 more, and that's the game. So for them to then be at home against a Jayden Daniels who will be in his very first playoff game. Now, just to be clear with Jayden, and we'll talk about it in the next section, nothing phases the kid. That being said, it will be a new thing for him. So how will he handle that? I would much rather squeeze into the 6th seed, that Packers-Vikings game, huge for us in my estimation, because if we run the table like K-Dot's has predicted so far, and kudos to you, K-Dot, you even had the Eagles game correct, then all of a sudden we're in an interesting situation where I would rather play an LA Rams team where maybe it is a bit of a shootout back and forth, and I like 5. Don't you? So, I mean, we'll go ahead and see what happens over there. I would not like to play the Eagles. If we do, I'll be juiced for it. I'll be excited about it. But if I have my pick, I'd prefer not to.
Yeah, I agree.
Trev is on a no. I'm with you, K. Dot. Bring them on.
Thank you.
Bring them on. I think, honestly, both of these games that Washington played, the game got out of hand in the fourth quarter the first time, but Washington felt like they had the opportunity to win that game. And then this game, to watch the team give the ball away 5 times, but still put up 36 points, to still feel like if they didn't give, and this is the thing I hate about the Jalen Hurts factor, right? If you want to play the what if game, what if Washington doesn't turn over the ball 5 times?
Right.
Like they were driving every single time they had it. Like you could tell that team was on a mission to score every time they touched the ball. And so I just don't see Hurts necessarily. I think the dynamic is different. And Washington did build themselves up a hole. And maybe he doesn't throw the pick the way that Pickett did. But Washington was on a mission. And I feel like they would have played hard enough to win that game regardless.
Well, to lend to your point, your collective point, K. Nathan, is that now we've beaten Philly and we turned it over 5 times, exactly like you said. So if we go into Philadelphia, no matter how much we're down, if we're down, we're going to have the feeling of we've done this before. We've been here before. We can do this again. So that confidence of knowing we've beaten Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts aside, is there. And it would certainly make for a much more exciting third out. Should we play them, I think the game would be electric, just to be clear. Should we end up playing them, I think it would be electric. And the confidence would be there from having just beaten them. So to your point.
What I love on the confidence level is actually the opposite side, right? So Philadelphia, they're going to, especially their fans are going to feel so cocky, so confident that, we would have beat you if we would have had Hurts. We would have beat you if Gardner Johnson wasn't kicked off the game. We would have beat you if this. We would have beat. So this game, we're going to stomp you just like we did the first game, which wasn't actually a stomping, right? Until the fourth quarter, 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So I love the fact that they're going to be so confident, and it's just going to take one punch in the mouth to have them reeling. And that's what I like to see. That's what I would love to see. And I did love seeing Ted there for that super chat. We appreciate you, Ted, for giving us that question. We got a follow-up question by Locked On Law, but first, happy birthday to our man, Doug, out there.
Happy birthday,
joining
Doug.
us here on his birthday. I can now understand why he let 7:30 sneak up on him. Probably he's had a few already. And that happens. That tends to happen. Scooby, our friend from across the pond, we mentioned, Leeds won 2-0 today, top of the league, needs promotion. I hate Leeds, for the record, Scooby. Just a quick aside. I'm a Swansea guy. We also won today, but we're not getting promoted anytime soon. So, but congrats on both your teams winning then, Scooby. That football aside, now let's get back to regular football. If we didn't want to see Philadelphia, Locked On Law wants to know, who would you rather play? Green Bay, Detroit, Minnesota? Because it would end up being probably one of those teams that it wouldn't be, because Washington really is only in favor to get the 6 seed, which then would play the 3 seed, which would be either the South or the West winner. Yeah. So really, this is who you want to see in the second round after you beat Philadelphia. So well, you know what? We'll talk about that later, Locked On Law. Let's put a pin in this one and keep things going just a little bit longer on the Philadelphia train. Trev, Lattimore, our picture here for this particular topic, did not have a great game. Some of those were ticky-tacky fouls, but now he's dealing with a hamstring injury. Are you concerned that he will be out? Because this was supposed to be the defense's secret weapon going forward. This was supposed to give Benjamin St-Juste much needed rest on the bench. But now it looks like we're going to have your favorite player out on the field a little bit more, Trev.
No. I am concerned because he just got off the injury report with a hamstring injury. He missed a month of action with the hamstring injury, and even missed the last 2 games in his New Orleans days with the hamstring injury. And I thought he played a really good game. I know he drew some fouls, and here's the difference. He drew fouls because he's aggressive. He's one of the top corners in the league, and he's not taking smoke from anybody, no matter the size or skill. BSJ's penalties are simply lack of technique, lack of knowledge of how to play the position, and just thinking he can get away with some subtle stuff. Yeah, all that stuff. So that's the difference in the PI. So that's why I'm not really mad about all the PI calls in Lattimore. Yes, they were ticky-tacky. AJ Brown was doing the same thing as Lattimore was supposed to do. Richard Sherman said receivers can do anything they want to do to get open, but DBs can't do anything they want to do to keep them covered, which is very, very true. So, but as far as the injury, yes, I am concerned. He was a DNP yesterday, even though if they would have practiced, that's what it would have reported. They came out today. He was a DNP again today. Luckily, we play a Sunday night game, the very last game of the day. So maybe if he is on the fence about playing or not, that gives us extra little bit of time for him to rest up and heal up. But I am concerned because we went out. And I know everybody said we got that move for the future, but we're trying to win now, or at least, win something now. And I think, losing him will put us right back to where our defense was before, which is a little bit weaker, a little bit more bendable than with him in there. I mean, in New Orleans, the guy didn't even look his way the whole time. One, because it's Jake Haener and Spencer Rattler. Two, is because they play with him all season and they know not to do that again. And then this time, they tried him in this game, and he got beat a few times. That's part of the rust knocking off, but sometimes he held his own. And you could just see the energy he brought with his play translated to everybody else on the defense side of the ball. So, yeah, big concern. Hope it's just a little tweak. Hopefully they're just being precautionary about it, and he'll be able to play on Sunday. But if not, then we are back to the drawing board with our secondary with Benjamin saying grab a lot. So
yeah, as long as he gets healthy before the actual playoff game, I think that's going to be important. Jonathan Allen maybe returning in that window as well, which would be exciting and help out the defense. This defense did not play well that first quarter, but after that, they played fairly well, K-Dot. And I do feel like they have some electric pieces on there. Of course, we mentioned Luvu, who is an absolute dynamo. Wagner's smart, sometimes a little step slow, but he plays so intelligently. Is there another player on this defensive side of the ball that you like to see play for the Burgundy and Gold?
I mean, I like all of them, at least to some degree, right? There's nobody I hate on the defense. Just, I take that back. Benjamin St. Juice, when he came out on the field, I did feel something viscerally. Maybe didn't talk to my therapist about it, but I felt something that I couldn't hide. I don't want to admit what I felt, but I know I felt something.
You admitted it on our last episode. If you
it was rough. It was rough. But look, the guy that the linebackers, you could talk. I could talk all day about Luvu and Wagner. Like even with the steps from Wagner, you're looking at a linebacker duo across the entire league. There are a few that are beating those two. Okay. Luvu's just energy it is a pleasure to watch him play football. Every down. It is just a pleasure to watch him play football. But the guy that I'm probably most excited about, honestly, is Mike Sanders still. Look, when you watch, so I watch the All 22 every week. I even did watch some All 22 this week, and I didn't want to. Marshawn Lattimore, easily, you could just see it. Screams off the screen. Best corner we got. Technique, leverage, all that, just got in spades. Sanders still is a dude that you can see making some inroads every week. He still has a flub here and there, but dude is like, the mind is working on a level at which you can just see like, all right, this dude might be something really, really special. So like, and the more time they have him on the outside with Noah Igbenogany doing well as far as the slot, just the better the Sanders still is going to be able to do as far as his flexibility with playing. Because we still know that if it was up to anybody, he'd probably still be better in the slot. But if he's got the outside stuff going too, then like the ability to have a Swiss Army knife in that defensive backfield with a defensive coordinator like Dan Quinn and a head coach like Dan Quinn and defensive coordinator like Joe Witt, they love those guys in the secondary, right? So like the idea that like I'm seeing Sanders still like almost a 10 football college. Just another like extra classes, and I'm just seeing him put it together, and it's just I really do think he's going to be something special.
I agree. He's fantastic to watch. Another rookie on that defensive side of the ball who looks like they're starting to put things together is Johnny Newton, who I was very thrilled that Washington was able to draft because he honestly, you hear this a lot about some guys, a first round talent, right? He really, if he didn't have those foot injuries, and reminds me a little bit of why some other top talent tends to fall, is because of there might be a little bit of injury concern. Jonathan Allen stayed in the first round, but had injury concerns. That's why he was drafted in the teens. But Johnny Newton, I think, can really be disruptive for this team going forward. Not a perfect player. There's definitely some things for him to work on. But, I mean, for him coming off 2 foot surgeries and being a rookie, I really like the play coming out from him on the defensive tackle spot. Last question here before we move on to the future is now. Washington has confidence going forward. Even though they came off 3 losses, then they beat up a lowly Titans team, and then they barely scraped by the Saints. What team do we have these last 2 games? Is it the team that has the confidence to beat the Eagles on a 10-game win streak? Or is it the team that barely scrapes by the Saints? Or is it the team that was on a 3-game losing streak to teams with winning records right before that?
No, I'm going to say that the 3-game losing streak was tied a lot to that smile being off of Jayden Daniels' face when he's clearly dealing with a rib injury there. When I think about the team that we're getting moving forward, I think we're going to get the one closer to Philadelphia. That was a very emotional win, and now we're following that up with a primetime game with a quarterback that, once again, is not fazed by anything and seems to love the spotlight. You think about Monday night against the Cincinnati Bengals in that 3rd and 7 throw where he stands and delivers to Terry McLaurin. The guy loves the spotlight. I think we have that, and we've seen runs from this team in the past, that like 5-game win streak to get into the playoffs with the Jason Campbell or an RG3 in the past. It's confidence, it's belief in each other, and that kind of win at home instills that. So I think we get a very excited and positive energy moving forward against Atlanta and against Dallas as well. So that's what I think.
Well, it is all going to start at the QB position, and that's exactly who we're going to be talking about here in the game. The future is now. Washington Commanders have their franchise quarterback. Just how far can Jayden Daniels take them? All that's coming up here in the game. Stick with us. Welcome to the game here on episode 205. It's Nathan, Trev, and the District Divided gentlemen here talking about the future is now. Jayden Daniels, the presumptive offensive rookie of the year, something I called way back before the draft during all the discussion of who they should take. Now, maybe some people like KDOT and myself might have been blinded by a certain other quarterback who's not going to be mentioned here, but we both liked Jayden Daniels. We definitely liked Jayden Daniels, and I said I loved him, and I thought that he was going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, and he's here. And he just threw 5 touchdowns against the top-rated defense, and it just looks like he's unstoppable. So, Ahmed, first question right out the gate is just how far can Jayden Daniels take this Washington Commanders team, as it looks like the playoffs are all but locked up? I think a 99% chance Washington ends up in the playoffs.
Yeah, 99% chance. Still, of course, work to do. And the way in which we get in is going to influence the answer over here. But Jayden, stunningly enough, as a rookie, I have the least questions about him. I have more questions about the rest of the roster. So how far can he take us? As far as the others are willing to pitch in. To me, in this NFC, as wide open as it is, honestly, I could see us going to a Super Bowl. It would be an absolutely magical run. Do we win it? No, there's probably a Kansas City or Baltimore on the other side. I don't see that. But can we go through this NFC? A lot of it hinges on the 6th seed to me, Nathan. If we're able to get that 6th seed, then all of a sudden you get a dangerous Packers team in the 7th. That was the youngest team in the NFL last year, goes to Dallas, beats them, put San Francisco on the brink. If they're able to make a little bit of noise against a Philadelphia and then a Detroit, well, could you imagine a situation where we as a 6 seed are hosting a 7 seed? This is all dreamland, of course. But what I'm saying is that Jayden, there are no questions with him. His best game just came against the Philadelphia Eagles when we needed it, when he didn't have run game support, when he didn't have receiver support outside of him putting the ball where he needed to. Whenever we're trailing, he's the best quarterback in the NFL when we're trailing in the 4th quarter. So we have a guy that, so long, what did you guys say? 5 were alive.
5 alive.
Yep. 5 and alive. So long as 5 is there and he's healthy, the sky's the limit for this team. We haven't seen a rookie in the Super Bowl, but there's a first time for everything. Everything's impossible until it's done. And people were talking about it with Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. They wanted to be the smart ones and say that they were going to be the ones to go to the Super Bowl this year. Best situation for a number 1 overall pick. Well, I mean, why not Jayden Daniels with the rookie performance that he's put on so far, playing like a 10-year vet? So that's as far as I think he will take us. Will he take us that far? I think a lot of that depends on the seeding, to be totally honest.
I think when you're talking about Caleb Williams, and a lot of people did echo that sentiment that he was going to the best spot. Even here on Ref the District, we talked about how Chicago wasn't really the first overall pick. They were the 9th overall pick. They were a team that had a better record. I think what has been overlooked quite a bit is Chicago's personnel might help Caleb Williams take himself further, but Washington benefiting not just from Jayden Daniels, Trev, but also a coaching staff built around Jayden Daniels that's helping him succeed. What is this pairing between him and Cliff Kingsbury that just seems to work and is driving them into the playoffs right now?
It's a match made in heaven. You got Cliff Kingsbury, who's one of the most successful coaches when it comes to working with quarterbacks coming out of college. His track record all the way back to Baker Mayfield. Kyler Murray, Caleb Williams at USC, and now he studied a lot of tape of Jayden Daniels because he got hired as the OC of the Washington Commanders, and everybody in the mama knew that we were taking him at number 2. It's a match made in heaven. You could see the adjustments Cliff has been making throughout the whole season. You could see the trust they instilled with him since preseason when Jayden Daniels made that audible against the Jets and threw that bomb to De'Ami Brown. Looked over, and what did he do? He smiled because he was comfortable. And so just to see the trust that you have between an offensive coordinator and your quarterback, that's what you want to see in the NFL. Because while we're mentioning Caleb Williams, you can see it doesn't matter who the talent is. If you don't have somebody in the NFL that can work with that talent, it's going to be hard to develop that talent. And that's what Caleb's going through right now. Because honestly, can you imagine Cliff Kingsbury in Chicago with Jayden Daniels with those weapons? The Bears would be like a playoff team since week 5, probably. And Jayden's come here with a bunch of no-name guys. Guys were signing off the street from other teams' practice squads, and he's led this to 10 wins, the most to 91, and a potential playoff spot. And that just boils down to Cliff Kingsbury running the offense, making it comfortable for JD5. Because if you run an offense that's too complex for a rookie, they're going to look like a rookie. So shout out Cliff Kingsbury for building a scheme and everybody else and the quarterback coaches that fits Jayden Daniels' game to where it makes him so comfortable. It's like he never even missed a beat coming from college to NFL at all. So that's truly the important thing is their relationship. And you can see the work they're putting in because of what's going on the field.
Yeah, much has been made about Cliff Kingsbury actually talking about how they haven't even opened up the offense fully. Like there's still wrinkles left to be pulled. Now, K-Dot, you watch a lot of the All-22, and Jayden Daniels has looked like a veteran at points this year, so much so that you have your guys's, not anybody else's, but your 2 favorite broadcasters completely disregarding that he is a rookie at all. Of course, I'm talking when Joe Buck and Troy Aikman were loving on Bo Nix, but forgetting Jayden Daniels is also a rookie. Now, K-Dot, I'm going to pitch it back to you, to that original question, jokes aside here, because he doesn't look like a rookie, because he often looks like a veteran and he's just making super smart plays. How far can this young man, because there was a lot made about his age, turned 24, right? You're getting him later, but he has this experience and he just plays like he has NFL experience. So how far can he take us?
Can Super Bowl. But it's just as likely we get bounced out of the first round. So like the thing with me is that like Jayden Daniels to be as great as he needs to be. And I think what ended up happening is in the Philadelphia game, we might have thought what we knew about Jayden Daniels and like what trajectory he was on. And that got kind of erased a bit in that Philadelphia game. Like, it's like, all right, maybe we don't know where that ceiling could potentially be at all. Right. Cause you talk about a rookie quarterback putting the team on his back against the number 1 defense. You can't say where this is going, right? But like it's also like what team. So when you asked earlier on that 3, like what team is going to show up, right? Is it the team that was on the 3? It's the same damn team. Like this team is chaos to a certain degree, right? You look at the most complete game that we played as a team is probably that Tennessee game, and you got to look exactly what happened, right? on defense, we were able to get him long down and distance. We made them one-dimensional. Dan Quinn can do what he wants to do on defense. He can pin their ears back. They can do certain things. Then on offense, we can rely on the run a bit more because we got to run up the score. It was the perfection. You're rarely going to get that, right? So, like, if it's going to be certain situations, can Jayden put the team on his back and outscore just about anybody? Maybe. But, like, it's hard to do. It's really, really hard to do. It doesn't get done. I don't like that we have to put that much on the rookie, but it's also why my expectations are kind of out the window. I think anything that happens for this guy in the way that I've been seeing it, Lord, now, even if he gets bounced in the first round, do you know what it does to his mind? Do you know what he takes away, what he learns in that?
Mhm.
What gets me excited is next year, the year after, and after that. That's what's got me super excited. But, like, all bets are off this year. I have no idea. I don't think anybody can say what they know is going to happen.
The NFC is wide open, guys. I mean, like all the Mahomes, the Lamar Jacksons, the Josh Allens, that's the other conference. You don't need to worry about that. I agree, actually. I do think the Cardinals is the most complete game that we've
TJ
put
here for
together.
our audio listeners. Amit's reading this one on the screen. I think the Cardinals game was the best team game. And I do agree with TJ and Amit that I think the Tennessee game was also well-rounded. I think the Cardinals are a better team, which is why I think collectively that's a stronger matchup that shows the team is capable.
It was also fresh off of that Monday night game, right? Where a rookie could be on a sugar high. And it's like, man, look at all this media attention. And for him to be as composed as he was, I thought was almost as impressive as the Monday night performance itself, because it's so easy, you know, to be brand new to the league, to have everybody talk about you. You're just on prime time. All the Tuesday talk is you. And who are you? Who have you become in front of all of us? And for him to just relax, okay, we're just going to put up another 42. Keep talking about us if you want to. I don't really care anymore. That's a 4:00 spot over in Arizona. We'll be fine. Okay. That to me was why it elevated it as the more impressive game. But that seemed like
No, the only reason I'm saying that's any difference is like the progress that I saw in Jayden from that week to where it is that we played Tennessee. I think he's a better quarterback, like, but by and large, compared to what it was happening in the Arizona game. Plus, I mean, if you're really looking at the NFL season, the first how many weeks of the season pretty much get thrown out because nobody knows what the hell is happening with the getting rid of training camp and all that. I get it. If we're looking at just like if you're grading a performance, totally understand given the Arizona game. I liked what I saw from the team as far as from a trajectory standpoint and knowing what we had talent-wise or where it is that Jayden's progress was happening in that Tennessee game. Even though it wasn't perfect, I just thought it was the most complete game. But it's, to me, it's just this team. It's in this Philadelphia game. I know that Amit said it, that I predicted that we were going to beat Philadelphia. And I felt, even when we were down, I know people are going to think this, I'm full of it. I felt pretty confident during that entire game up until the point where the interception. And I was like, oh, that might have been one
second one,
mistake.
right?
The second one, yeah.
That
might have been too many mistakes for us to bounce back on. And it's
3 minutes left. So you needed the score.
I was like, but the reason being is that I see so much good happening with the team, and it's usually just one or two terrible things to snowball into something terrible, the snowball into something worse. It's not that they're not playing good fundamental football, right? I just see there's a talent discrepancy overall, and they have this tendency to like, okay, you had a hell of a, like, oh my God, that was you got a 2-yard loss in that run. Great. It's 3rd and long. What are you going to do? Oh, that's a penalty. You gave him a first down. God dang it. And now that first down turned to something else, and now they're in the end zone. You're like, well, you were doing everything right up until that point, right? And it's those little things. It's like if they could just not shoot themselves in the foot at the most inopportune time to do it.
Yeah, Nathan, if I may, just to piggyback off of that, Jayden makes that mistake, right? Probably not the best throw. You know, you're rolling to the right, you're going across to the left. It's Luke McCaffrey, who's got 9 offensive snaps that you're hoping makes a play over there. And it's picked up by Reed Blankenship. Fine, that happens. For him to just be completely composed after Devontae Smith drops it, right? And go, okay, that didn't even happen, right? And now we're just, you know, left, right, left, right, left, right. Spike the ball, laugh with Jalen Carter. Next play, see you later. Thanks for coming. Safe drive home. Right? Like for him to do that is what, when we look at this NFC field, to bring it back to how far can we go? I know K-Dot's a Matt Stafford guy. There's Jordan Love, who's also really good. where does Jayden Daniels rank in terms of these quarterbacks? Like Sam Darnold, this is going to be the first time he's in the postseason, right? Jared Goff, he's very good. He's a front runner, in my opinion. I was looking at the numbers. When these guys are up, Jared Goff is awesome. If they go down, you should see the numbers. It's actually pretty shocking. So if they get punched in the mouth, I don't know what Jared Goff is showing up. We got Baker Mayfield, who I think is very good. Who knows which one shows up? He's had a couple off games. Like
Baker Mayfield is always going to be Baker Mayfield. He is going to make those throws that get you excited, and then he's going to do something you're like, what? Why would you do that? And that's coming from a Sooner guy. Like he's been that way for years. But you love the energy he brings to the Buccaneers for sure.
Yeah, it's just when we look at the quarterbacks in the NFC, and in terms of like who has the ball at the end with a shot, if our defense does enough to give 5 a shot, I like us. I like us against most of these teams. He just did it against the number 1 defense. And for me, as the moment gets bigger, he gets better. That is hard to find. We have that. I'm not sure I can say the same about all these other QBs in the NFC. Stafford, I think you can. But outside of that, I'm not sure. I think we might have the next best one.
Looking over the standings right now, these are the quarterbacks currently higher seed than Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. You have Goff with the Detroit Lions, Hurts with the Eagles, the Rams with Stafford, Falcons currently going to be starting a rookie against us on Sunday night, only in his second game. So you got to figure Penix Jr. down, right? Definitely on that one. Sam Darnold, reclamation project, fantastic season out there in Minnesota. How much of that is him and how much of that is the offense? And then you have Jordan Love with the Green Bay Packers, who, by the way, are sitting at 11-4. Their remaining games, the Vikings and the Bears. At the Vikings and the Bears. They are only currently 1 game up against Washington. The tiebreaker would come down to conference record. If they were to lose to the Vikings, they would finish 7-5. Washington, if they win out, would finish 9-3 in the conference, meaning Washington would jump up the 6th seed. Just FYI.
We need the Vikings to win Sunday.
Yeah,
it's a huge
just
game.
FYI. Just wanted to throw that out there. But let's go back to those QBs there.
Yeah.
If those are the QBs that are in the playoffs with Washington, although it would be, instead of the Falcons, it would be the Buccaneers with Mayfield, because the Falcons can't afford to lose a game and have the Buccaneers win. The Buccaneers, they look sloppy. Who knows? They could lose to Carolina, and Washington could be in the playoffs based off of that after 1 o'clock. But KDOT, where are you ranking Washington's QB, Jayden Daniels, in the playoffs? Like how they have those little little meters, like the teams, they'll restack the teams. Just do the QBs. Where does Jayden Daniels rank in there?
Look, typically as a betting man, I never take the rook in the playoff game, but that's just me. I need to see you do something in the playoffs before I'm going to take it. It's not to say you can't do anything. If we're looking at pure talent, right? Just like, what do you have in your toolbox? There's not another quarterback in the NFC I'm picking over Jayden Daniels, period. I'm not going to do it. So it comes down to experience, and it comes down to like, all right, what have I seen over the course of the season makes me think that Jayden can't do it? I haven't seen anything that makes me think Jayden can't do it. It's just going off from a history standpoint is the only thing that really keep me back from it. But then I'd also say, just to expand just a little bit, I don't think it matters who the best quarterback in the NFC is. Because like at the end of the day, how many seasons have I seen Peyton Manning at home or John Elway at home? Mm-hmm. We can have the best quarterback.
Dan Marino only won Super Bowl and he loses it, and he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Right. So, like, as you were going down the list of NFC teams, I was thinking in my head, best quarterback, man, maybe. But clearly, I think if we're comparing as far as even offensive talent, we're the worst out of that group. Like, I don't think it's close necessarily. We're looking at a pure talent standpoint. So, do we want to put it on the Rook's back? Maybe he could take it. I don't know. He's rewriting the books, right? But if I'm looking at what you need typically in the playoffs to really get stuff done, I need a defense to sound, and I need a running game. I need those two things to work. And then beyond that, you could do some other stuff. And if I'm looking at that, Washington's run game used to be a staple. It's a little weird when it's a little spotty. And defensively, I still haven't seen us be able to really truly stop the run over the course of the entire game. So what does that mean? Does Jay got to put up 42? Can he? Yeah. Do I rely on that? Probably not.
Yeah, Timothy there commented on this earlier. Bit of a hot take, says Timothy. When the run game was more consistent, we didn't need JD5 to air it out, and I feel like he didn't get the chance to get his rookie interceptions out of the way. Cliff had been conservative. That run game kind of going away, Trev, and we're relying a little bit more on Jayden Daniels. Now, the problem is wide receiver room doesn't look exactly great, and you, Trev, we're down on Terry McLaurin at one point this season. I think you're ready to admit he's wide receiver 1 now, but at the beginning of the season, you called him wide receiver 2 at best. And so he has another 1,000-yard season. B-Rob, famously, Stoner's called a jag, and he's gotten in trouble for that with our fan base. But where does the offensive talent start to step up for Jayden Daniels, or does he have to just continue elevating these C and D tier guys to at least get them to be B tier? Like Noah Brown, sorry, like that's a wide receiver 4 on most teams. Noah Brown, I mean, he was cut for a reason, and he was a consistent number 2 for Washington until his injury. So where does that balance lie for Washington going into the playoffs?
He's currently on the injured reserve, and that's Austin Eckler. He was huge for us in the run game and pass game. I feel like with Austin was in there doing his thing, that gave B-Rob the confidence and less pressure to do his thing. B-Rob has been so inconsistent, can't stay healthy, and when it's just him, he's just not finding the hole like he used to. He's just getting 1 yard, 2 yard runs here, and so I do believe Austin Eckler is the reason why our offensive run game has slowed down. But if he's still going to be out, I guess you just got to rely on your old guys like you just did in this past game. Jamison Crowder and OZ. You got to rely on them to step up. You got to incorporate Ben Sinnott for some reason. Like, am I just clueless, or like wasn't Adam Peters and everybody raving about Ben Sinnott in the offseason? They're all the promos they put out, and fans were loving him. I liked them, and he was going to be a secret weapon or a special gadget guy for us this year. And he has 1 catch, maybe less than 5 catches, a touchdown. And I thought that was a really good route and a really good catch. And it was like, okay, thanks, Ben. Here you go. Have a seat again. So it's like, I don't know what we're doing with Ben Sinnott, but I feel like that could be a huge weapon for JD5 going into the playoffs. But yeah, he's going to have to rely on Terry McLaurin and then OZ and Jamison Crowder and Luke McCaffrey. And if Austin Eckler comes back, that'll help out a lot. But we really don't have anybody to step up. So he's got to do what he's been doing. It's just making these irrelevant guys relevant again for this season at least, and see if we can do it that way. So it's going to be tough because playoffs is a whole nother season.
K-Dot's looking pretty excited down there, so I want to get to him here in a moment. But I did want to point out Ben Sinnott has 4 more catches than Trent Scott this year, same amount of touchdowns. Just in case you were wondering. But K-Dot, you were pretty animated down there, so I want to hit you up. What did you have about Trev's talk there?
Yeah, I think that's something that's actually been a little frustrating on me watching this team, is that like early on in the season, I saw Luke McCaffrey get open a lot. When I'm watching the All-22, I'm like, dude, Jayden, I thought you guys worked in the offseason. Just hit him. Just hit him. just do it. And then it just sort of that kind of trickled away. And now he's on special teams. And you see on special teams, he's got a bit of a burst, right? He looks kind of special on special teams. What that says to me is like, Cliff, how about you get creative, buddy? How about you have him in the backfield, do some stuff, right? Like have him on some end arounds and things. Just give him the ball. Let's see what can happen. Same thing with Sinnott. Sinnott doesn't block as well as John Bates. He's probably not as sure as hands as Zach Ertz. But I think he's a perfect amalgamation of the both of them. And what I'd love to see him is in the backfield. How about a little H-back with Ben Sinnott? How about you have him pulling and being the lead guy? How about he's going out into the flat and you throw him something, right? Just put the ball in his hands. The 1 or 2 times I've seen with the ball, dude doesn't look like he's going down. So it's like, do we rely on the Noah Browns and the Zacchaeuses and all these guys who have been or do you go and see, do you might have something special you just haven't unlocked yet? And that's what I'm looking for. I've been waiting all season for the Luke McCaffrey or Ben Sinnott breakout game for me to get more excited about what it is this team has currently, because I'm not.
Yeah, that first interception against the Eagles, Luke was the intended target. And if that was a better throw, Luke is gone like for 40, 50 yards. I mean, he was open, and we've seen that all year long with him. He's running the route open. Now, I heard some rumors that perhaps he's not, his route running still needs some work. Like and this is a guy who's only in his third season as a wide receiver now, 2 seasons at Rice as a wide receiver, a season and a half really at this point. And so, maybe that's true, but I'm watching a guy who's consistently open, and now having seen him on kickoff returns, my goodness. Yeah, he knows, like, it's so great watching him on kickoff returns. You can see just how instinctive he is about finding those spots and when to hit the burst and when to run. I hate watching a lot of guys on kickoff returns because they go left to right, right? They're watching him. He knows he's always moving forward, and then he knows when to find where that gap is going to be and hits the hole, and it's just fantastic.
I call the east to west Antoine Randall. I like it. Elling it.
Yeah, that's precisely it. Now, we're down on Brian Robinson. We'd mentioned him earlier being a Jag. I think TJ or maybe somebody else had said that he's kind of a Jag plus, and that's kind of where my rankings tend to be. Right, you have a superstar, you have a plus player, and then you have a Jag. 5, a 4, and a 3. B Rob is like just around that plus player when he's healthy. He's seen flashes of him being a plus player, but he just doesn't seem to be himself right now. And against the Eagles, who have a good defense, mind you, they were able to stuff him. But even in a few other games we've seen this year, he's not been a consistent running back for Washington. Is it something Brian Robinson has to do better, or is it something that maybe we can see from a Chris Rodriguez or a McNichols who's going to be out there? Because we're probably not seeing Eckler. As much hope as there is, and I know that he's starting to kind of get back into it, when Austin Eckler spoke about the concussions, that sounded like a man who is going to play it safe. Mm-hmm. And he didn't want to come back in. He didn't want to rush. He was like, this is my first time getting 2 concussions. I know I've been reading about it, and I think that I know that the studies have shown that you're more likely to get them. So he's like, I want to figure this out. That's a guy who's ready to just not hang up the cleats, but a guy who's not rushing to get back. So this is our running back room. Chris Rodriguez, Brian Rodriguez, and Jeremy McNichols. Is it all got to be on B-Rob? Because right now, Jayden Daniels are a leading rusher, and I don't feel good about that.
Right. So, obviously, in a perfect world, we don't have Jayden be Superman. If we talk about us in the future is now and who we're relying on, just to quickly answer that question, it probably is a lot of empty if the running game isn't working, and it's going to be who's open. Is it Crowder? Is it Zacchaeus? Is it Terry? Like, that's what it's going to have to be to make a truly deep run if the running game is not there. I'm looking through the numbers right now. Hard pressed to find a game where Brian Robinson is struggling and Jeremy McNichols is doing really well, or Chris Rodriguez is doing really well. So I think we just have what we have. If you want to do a committee, sure, be my guest, mix it up. If that's the feeling on it. I think Brian Robinson's very important to this team. I think he had a very rough outing. Look, 2 fumbles lost, 10 carries, 24 yards. Safe to say that's his worst day as a pro and will be his worst day as a pro. But we need him because his ability to fall forward and be able to get you an extra couple yards. 1, it helps set a tone. 2, it allows you to get into around a 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5. And that's when you as a fan feel really confident in Jayden's ability to be able to get us a first down from that point forward. Thank you very much for the 4 yards, the hard-earned yards. We'll take it from here. That's what Brian Robinson provides. I mean, if we look at the last couple of games for Jeremy McNichols, 2 carries, 4 yards, and then 2 carries, 3 yards. Not a lot of carries, but nonetheless, you'd get more if you produce with those, right? And then same thing with Chris Rodriguez, 1 carry, 2 yards, 3 carries, 5 yards. Like, what are we talking about? And the game before that, it's Brian Robinson, 16 carries, 103 yards. And that's where Chris Rodriguez flashes in the 4th quarter, 13 carries, 94 yards. So if he flashes, somebody else tends to flash too. If he doesn't, no one else does. So he's the best we have moving forward. If you want a committee, again, be my guest. I wouldn't. I think we just need to hope that Brian Robinson continues to fall forward and is our back.
Well, Trev, maybe Aubrey here has a point. A Jag offensive line equals a Jag running game. This offensive line under Bobby Johnson has improved, and they've gotten some new pieces here, Trev. But You've seen Sam Cosmi have kind of few bad games. He was the guy who we were most excited about. Really happy with him being re-signed and stuff. You've got a center who went down, and Dieter didn't look as crisp, and I know that has some things to do with it. But Biotish was playing, and Sam Cosmi was playing. Wiley's had a better year. At least fans have finally realized he's not the worst right tackle in the league. Coleman has looked really good out there at left tackle. Maybe not, all pro. Everyone expects a Trent Williams, and that has been the case. And Allegretti is serviceable at left guard. Collectively, they've have a successful offense that they're running, right? And their running attack is, top 10 in the league, Trev. But this offensive line does seem to be missing a little bit. And maybe not as Aubrey's point being a Jag offensive line, but maybe not where they need to be, Trev.
I mean, it's the first year this group has been together with a different coach too. I hate using that excuse, but it's literally the reality. It's one of the best offensive lines we've had in the past 5 years, I do believe, and we have some bigger names on offensive line. So just give it time. They're still trying to gel. They're still trying to find that continuity. I know people are like, it's week 15, 16. It still takes longer than a few weeks to get to where you want to be as a stellar offensive line. I think Bobby Johnson, who I was not high on coming from the Giants after what their offensive line looks like, I'm now kind of high on, because he's taken a bunch of these different guys and put them together, and look what it's done so far for Jayden Daniels and B-Rob and our offense. So I wouldn't go as far as calling it a Jag O-line. I just think it's just a fresh O-line. It's just a beginning O-line. Now we might see some changes in the offseason to it. We might not, but I think we're doing a pretty damn good job for the guys that we have. I mean, Tyler Bidiosh is a really, really good center. Okay. Wiley is coming from a Super Bowl team. Yeah, he was bad last year, but he's won a Super Bowl. Allegretti is serviceable at left guard, but he's won a Super Bowl. Sam Cosmi got paid for a reason. And then you have your left tackle, Brandon Coleman, who's been had a pretty good season for a third-round pick that we got out of him. So to call it Jago line, it's too far. It's just, first-year expectations. We had no idea what to expect, and I think the offensive line is exceeding those particular expectations too. So I'm not too hard on the offensive line. It's just the running backs got to see the holes better. Maybe Cliff's got to call a better running game. Maybe use the running backs at a different time depending on the down and yardage. You know what I mean? So, but to call offensive line Jags, no, I'm not with that.
Yeah, and I do think that it's important for the team to be consistent and continuing to call the run game, even when it's not necessarily working, because it does help other aspects of the offense, the short passing game, when you're trying to set up, because you can kind of see where the defense tends to play really close, knowing that the offense is going to rely on the short passing game, and that starts to take away the short passing game. And Cliff Kingsbury, in the games that Washington has lost, was reluctant to open up the offense, and some of that was a timing issue. Jayden Daniels had zero time to throw in a lot of those games when it comes to an aggressive pass rush, but it is kind of one of those things that they have to bounce back and forth and kind of find a nice balance. Now, Washington currently sits in the 7th seed right now in the NFC playoffs. That would lead to a third matchup with the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm telling you right now, don't sleep on our Washington Commanders, and you don't have to sleep either. If you head over to don'tsleepenergy.com, use the code DISTRICT, get yourself 10% off your entire order. Don't Sleep Energy is a local DMV company. You'd be supporting not only a local business, but you'd also be supporting your friends over here at Ref the District by using that code and letting them know that we sent you. You can either get their original recipe or their sugar-free, or maybe even their energy shots, whatever you need to do to get yourself going. Don't Sleep Energy. It makes you great. Now, gents, we'll start with UK Doc, because I saw you making some faces earlier. So I'm going to give this question to you. Maybe you could expand on some of those thoughts I saw you holding back here. Washington Commanders right now going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. If they win that game, they go up against the Detroit Lions. How do you like that 1-2 punch there for the young Commanders team?
Yeah. Once again, it just kind of go back to like what's going to work, what's not going to work. Like, once again, if we're going to be in a situation where we got to get in like a shootout sort of situation, Detroit's defense, that war of attrition kind of got to them. That's going to be tough. And I think you can kind of sense it up there that they kind of realizing like, yeah, this might not be the year for us right now. Like I think they're kind of coming to terms with it. But yeah, I mean, if you got to get into a shootout with those guys, then yeah, like, do I think we got a shot? Yeah, absolutely. But like, if they get that running game going with Gibbs and Montgomery, and they're bleeding clock out, and we're giving up 5 yards a clip, and Gibbs just busted one for 50, then it's gonna be a long day, and Jaden's gonna be sitting on the sideline with a smile on his face, but can't do anything about anything that's happening in the game. So like. There's just some things that got to be shored up. And like, as we've been saying, the reason I was making the faces is I felt good about this team when the running game was working better. And the reason the running game ain't working better, Trev, you nailed it. Eckler being out. What made Cliff early on in the season, the best thing that we were doing as far as the run game was our 21 personnel. When Robinson and Eckler were in the backfield together, defense didn't know what the hell was coming, where it was coming from, anything. There was an unpredictability that just existed that doesn't exist now. B-Rob, Rodriguez, and McNichols. It's all the same guy. They're all the same guy. Like, B-Rob just runs harder than those guys. But we all love the guy who runs hard, right? Marion Barber in Dallas. Everybody loved him for a while. He ain't making no Pro Bowl. Like Brandon Jake, like, I'm gonna run guys over. He ain't making no. We love the way he runs, right? But if you don't have the complementary back to go with him, you're not going to get as much because everybody kind of knows what's happening. And also, I got to admit, I never like running out of shotgun. Just not my favorite thing. And also, these delays, the read, does it feel like, is it just me, or is it either being read wrong or not making a decision until the defender's already got hands on people? So it's like, I'm like, oh, okay, what are we doing? It's just there's an unpredictability that doesn't exist right now with the run game that is making things a lot harder. So what you end up having to do is rely on Jaden to be more on the ground, which means you're relying on Jaden to do even more on the offense, right? Now we got to worry about him doing all those things. Philadelphia, he proved he could do it. If it's Detroit, I feel better that he could do it than against Philadelphia, so absolutely. But like, do I got to rely on that rook to do that all the way to the Super Bowl?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't
Only
want
so
to
many
be in that
4th and
position.
11s you want your QB to try to convert, right? Like
Exactly.
that is a problem.
Yeah, it's you shouldn't be. And look, man, I love the fact that you look all the way back to the offseason. What was the one thing that we did better than anybody else? We were not making our quarterback the savior. He wasn't the savior. They kept him away from the media and everything. Let's bring him up the right way. You want to know the difference between what's happening with Jaden, what's happening with Caleb Williams? The development. There's a plan here. There ain't a plan over there. We already knew he was going to be on the second offense coordinator by year 2. This is something he's going to build in here, right? But now, just because of the way the season shaked out, and because injuries have happened the way it is, we have kind of had to put it on his back. You shouldn't rely on it. You can't rely on it.
Well, okay, just a friendly reminder, we did take the best quarterback in the draft, so there's also that.
That helps.
Stop!
That certainly helps.
I was wrong, okay? I was wrong.
I did say that. Your words, not mine. But Nathan, were you?
Yeah, I'm going to go to you here for this. Detroit is suffering a lot of injuries. You beat the Eagles, which you said you don't want to match up against them. K-Dot and I are aggressive here. We want this matchup. I had already called, by the way, that Washington will make it out of the first round, regardless of who they're going to see. Okay. Yeah. And if that's the Eagles, I really do think Washington will beat the Eagles up in Philadelphia. That does mean that they'll have the matchup with currently the Detroit Lions. Now, a lot can happen. It could be the Minnesota Vikings, but right now it's the Lions. The Lions seem like a good matchup right now. That defense is certain. And so, Washington could put up the points. Now, to K-Dot's point here, if they run Gibbs, not necessarily Montgomery is injured. He is aiming to be back for the divisional round, but he's nursing an MCL sprain right now. Mm-hmm. So if they go up against the Lions, Amit, do you like that matchup in the second round?
Not for any prospects moving forward, which is, again, why I like the 16. So let's do the thought experiment here. So we get Philadelphia. It's a very physical game, and we win, right? Now we go against a Detroit team. On the road, they've just had their bye week. I fully love Dan Campbell and what he's built over there. Kata, I know you feel the same. With that attitude, their identity on fourth down, etc. If we were to then somehow go ahead and after that physical game against a Philadelphia Eagles squad, go on the road and play yet another physical game. When I talk about physical, I'm talking about the trenches, specifically that offensive line. I see a tremendously gassed defensive line come that conference championship game. Should we get past them? There's something called the Detroit flu. I'm not sure if you guys are particularly familiar with it, but after you play the Detroit Lions, want to say the record's like 3-10 or something like that. So then you have to go ahead and play one of those teams. What I would prefer, and I've said it a couple times, is that if we have a Green Bay Packers team that's pretty hot, get to go to Philadelphia, and then it's a Detroit game, they're juiced for it. They win. Oh, guess what? Detroit flu's with them now, right? And then we get to play this is if I'm like a seed strategist and everything's working perfectly. We get the LA Rams, and then we get probably the Bucks, because you would have to beat the Falcons in order to get to that 6th line. Well, now you're looking at Rams, Bucks, and you're hosting a Green Bay Packers team, or at minimum, the Packers have at least played a game with the Detroit Lions. That's a really physical, historic rivalry. And then you play them after, should you play Detroit in the conference championship game and be fortunate enough to win. And again, we love 5. We've talked about it. Well, then you get the week off before playing the Super Bowl. So maybe the Detroit flu doesn't affect you as much, because the first week is like, oh my God. And then the second week is, all right, Super Bowl. Here we go. So that's the way I'm thinking of it, is the matchup even beyond the Detroit Lions over there. They're so banged up. I like the matchup, but it's so physical.
Yeah,
Philly,
they will still bite your kneecaps over there in Detroit.
Exactly.
And Trev, I like where he's headed. I was headed there as well. I'm going to give you the conference game. Washington wins their first game. They win their second game. In the third game, the conference championship game, the game that could take them to the Super Bowl. Who do you like as a matchup for Washington? And who do you think they'll beat to end up in the Super Bowl?
Who's the possible teams? Because
this one, honestly, you're probably looking at the Rams, the Buccaneers, the Vikings, or the Packers. So I would say probably the Vikings or Packers are the more likely teams to end up out of that other side of the bracket, in my opinion. If anybody from District Divided wants to chime in with who they think would kind of go there, because as the 7th seed, you win, you're going to face the 1st seed, which means the 3rd or 4th seed. And if they don't win, whoever wins will be playing whoever, the other team.
That's got a team.
So. Yeah, I mean, I've never wavered. I got a Rams Chiefs Super Bowl. I'm not backing down from it.
You're not backing off of a Rams Chiefs.
I'm not backing down off
that
at all.
That's the tell, by the way. He scratches real quick. I'm not backing off.
Shut up. I just
Timothy's taking Sam Darnold.
Yeah, give me the Vikings. As it's Sam Darnold's first time in the postseason. Their defense does not scare me, because we just took it to the best defense in the league. We showed we're capable of playing with them. If you just lock up Justin Jefferson, who's Sam going to throw it to? Their running game, I really don't think they have one. I don't even know who they're running back. Oh, is it Aaron Jones? Yeah, it is Aaron Jones. He's hit or miss. He's not too consistent, but he's nothing to sleep on. But he doesn't scare me. I'd rather play the Vikings. I don't want to play the Packers just because they have a really, really good running game, and the receiving core is great, and our defense is not all that great. We can't do both. We can either shut down the pass or shut down the run, but we can't seem to do both. And I don't feel confident, like K-Dot said earlier, in our run defense still. Yeah, we locked up Saquon Barkley in the second half, but he still broke one off for 60 yards and a touchdown, which put us in a bit of a hole, which we had to then rely on Jayden Daniels to bring us out of that hole. And I feel like if we go up against some strong running teams, that's going to happen. And I don't want to have to rely on Jayden Daniels to do that again, because like you said, he's a rookie. And I just don't want to go to the playoffs having to rely on something like that to happen. So give me the Vikings, I guess, because it's Sam Darnold, and he can be had any day of the week. So
he is still Sam Darnold. That is important to remember in that regards. Absolutely. Now, I think a lot of our viewers here are thinking maybe we're getting a little too far ahead of ourselves, but that's exactly what this is here. JG calling us out. We're looking too far down the road. Did you all miss the Dan Quinn memo? No, we didn't miss the memo. We were just having
it's content.
A lot of fun here talking about just how far these Washington Commanders could go. Now, these Washington Commanders do have a matchup against those Sunday night Falcons on Sunday night. Washington could have already clinched up a spot, but will they? And will they win that game potentially moving into the 6th seed. We've got all that right here for you on Ref the District. Welcome to Ref the District here, where we're talking about Sunday Night Football against the Atlanta Falcons. A little bit of a change up here, as Mike H points out. 2 rookies this Sunday. Their college starts are Jayden with 55 and Penix Jr. with 48. It was a big surprise on draft day that the Atlanta Falcons did not add to their offense in the way most people expected, by taking Michael Penix Jr. over one of the wide receivers that was there. The GM having to explain to his owner why they would go about it this way. Well, it turns out Kirk Cousins not the answer for Atlanta, being benched after a string of games where he threw 1 touchdown to 9 interceptions. What I don't understand here is I understand the stats, and that Trav, you have talked to me about this and tried to explain it to me, because you would rather face Cousins than Penix Jr. I need more people to explain this to me, because I much rather face Penix Jr. over Cousins. So someone please explain to me why so many of the fan base are worried about this matchup, because we're going to go up against a rookie QB over a guy who consistently puts up regular season numbers.
Go off, Trev. I'm with you, buddy.
It's the unknown. Kirk Cousins was trash this year. He had no mobility. He had no accuracy. And I know he said he didn't forget how to play, but he forgot what it takes to be a successful quarterback. I'd rather play somebody that we've known, we've played against before. I know somebody on our team of this mixed up bag of roster we have has played Kirk Cousins in the past at least 3 years. Michael Penix Jr. is a rookie, yes, but we have a rookie too. And no one knew what we were going to do. We lost the first game. We thought, oh, Jayden Daniels, he might not be it. But now look what he's done. 10 offensive rookie of the weeks later, 10-5 record. So I'm just more scared of the unknown. I was more comfortable of Kirk Cousins, excuse my language, shitting the bed against us again on this game, than rather than going against a strong arm Michael Penix Jr., who has a little bit of less starts than Jayden Daniels, who can probably utilize the weapons better than what Kirk Cousins did in Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. Their talent level on offense is a little bit better than ours, even though we are one of the higher scoring offense in the league. I know it seems weird to be scared of going against a rookie, but it's just the unknown factor. Any given Sunday, Kirk Cousins, you kind of knew what was going to happen. And I think the GM, I think the whole team knew exactly what they were doing drafting Michael Penix. They knew Kirk Cousins was not going to be able to get it done for them, whether it was this year or next year. They knew that it was going to be a short leash for Kirk Cousins, whether it was 1 year or 2 years.
Well,
but,
I have to tell you,
I just feel more comfortable playing against Kirk Cousins than somebody who has a chance of winning by luck and being a better I don't know. They've already looked better than they did with Kirk Cousins. That was one game.
Though,
so
I don't really think they did. I think their opponent was awful. But you got to call me Elsa from Frozen 2, because you got to take me into the unknown here, K-Dot. And please back me up by going up against Penix Jr. as the quarterback we need to face, because TJ here, I'd rather play Kirk, and this is a common thread here. TJ saying, I'd rather play Kirk. He will give the opponents a gift. You two mentioned on your District Divided podcast, which, by the way, these two gents are fantastic. Make sure you go out there and subscribe to their content, watch their videos. They're fantastic. But these two talked about it. It doesn't matter if it's Kirk or if it's Penix Jr. You got flipping Kyle Pitts out there throwing the ball at the opponent. It doesn't matter. They're going to give the ball away. That's what they do. Okay. Doesn't matter if it's Kirk Cousins who throws it to you directly, or if it's Penix Jr. who gifts a solid pass. They're still going to throw you the ball. So K-Dot, please back me up on this.
As a Kirk Cousins defender and as a Kyle Pitts drafter, I'm going to have to echo something you said earlier from our lesbian ice princess and Frozen. Let it go. You gotta let it go. That's it's over. it's over. Like Kirk. Look, I was all it. They were my sexy pick. All right, I really liked the Falcons, and then some just occurred to me midway through the season. the Kirk Cousins is 37 years old coming off an Achilles injury. Usually doesn't work out. And it's kind of showing it doesn't work out. He can't move. He just can't move. So like anyone is better than him right now because they are at least able to play the position or at least play football. He just can't do it. He had like 2 or 3 weeks where he actually looked like, oh wow, he's bootlegging, like he could do it. And then it went away like that. It's like he used up all the goodwill and health energy he had in that little stretch. And it's over now, dude. So like, look, Michael Penix, rookie quarterback. I love the idea, Dan Quinn being able to scheme some stuff up. I get that. I understand the unknown period. Kirk Cousins was trash by the end of it. I don't think he's a trash quarterback. I just don't think he's healthy. And even if Kyle Pitts is wanting to throw the ball to the opposing team, which is still the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever seen.
It's insane.
I was listening to Bill Simmons' podcast. They shouldn't call that. That should not be a Penix interception. That should be called a team interception. They need to classify that as something else.
They almost created a new stat for it.
It was ridiculous, right? But anyone's going to be able to execute that offense at a better clip than Kirk was. Who just can't deliver the ball to a really talented group of playmakers, man. Like as much as they don't ever really put it together, unless they're playing a really, really trash team. They're scary. They got scary talent. And they just need people to get the ball in their hands so they can show that they're talented.
Well, Kirk Cousins, by the way, not too far removed. I mean, it'll be about a couple months, I guess. Actually, 2 months in football terms is in a football season's forever. But he did throw 3 touchdowns against Dallas, no interceptions, and 4 touchdowns just before that against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to no interceptions. So, I mean, he did again have a horrible run of 1 touchdown to 9 interceptions following that. But I just don't understand. I get maybe he's not as good as he used to be, but all he has to be is as good as he once was, as Toby Keith here in Oklahoma would have said at one point. Amit, music notes aside, you agreed with Trev. Why are you wanting to see the rookie? Is it because maybe, as JG says, they'll throw to Sanders still?
No, so for what it's worth, I do not want to see the rookie. I would love to see Kirk Cousins trot out onto that field and play against us because here's the thing. So you had mentioned those stats, and that's a high ceiling, right? Where you're talking about 3 touchdowns against Tampa Bay. Like he torched them twice. Those are meaningful games that are giving them the tiebreaker right now. You can thank Kirk Cousins for that. My thing is those stats tend to come in October and November, and it tends to come around 1 p.m. Eastern time. And so once you get into prime time and once you get into December, people here will remember when we had a win and in game against the New York Giants. And the Giants were terrible. And Kirk Cousins got a little bit tight. You'll also remember for people that are Minnesota Vikings fans, I went to school in Minnesota, got a lot of Vikings friends. And they love Kirk. Again, in October, November, they had that first season with Kevin O'Connell. They win all those games, tight games at that. Kirk's making plays. They play against Daniel Jones and the New York Giants. What does he do on 4th down? Throws before the sticks. That's it. That's your ball game. There is something about certain QBs, and I think Kirk unfortunately does fall in this category because contrary to what K-Dot thinks, I like the guy. Just I don't want him to be my quarterback, right? Is that he gets tight in big spots. And the later you get in the season, the more meaningful the games are. This is a meaningful game for them. I would love to see him in this spot. It's prime time. It's back here. They need the game. Injury aside, if he were healthy, I'd want to see him. But with the injury, you cannot put him out there if you're at Atlanta. They made the right choice to move over to Michael Penix. For me, I like Michael Penix a whole lot. He was the number 2 quarterback on my board. Jayden being number 1. So I really believe in Michael Penix. It's a tough spot for him, just to be clear. This is his second ever start. He's on the road. But one of the other things that the benching has done, and the bye week has done in week 12, we'll get into that soon enough, is they've sort of course corrected on offense. They're starting to run the ball a whole lot, and all the more reason to do so when you have a rookie quarterback. So I think they are starting to lean into Bijan Robinson, who to me is their most talented weapon. That scares me. And so again, we'll talk about that more, but if I could pick the quarterback I'm going against, please give me a Kirk Cousins when the season's on the line. I would love that. That's where I stand.
Yeah, I'm with. Yep.
Oh my Lord, I can't believe
that's
that.
where I never. Yeah, this.
You guys, you've seen what he does firsthand.
In this jersey.
Yes, in the jersey, in the team we talk about every week. You see what happens.
I like Kirk.
You like that? I don't like.
I like Kirk.
I don't like that at all.
I'm not taking my chances that he has one of these games because in past seasons, in the last few seasons in Minnesota, he has shirked the whole can't play in prime time thing. He's won in prime time. He has shirked the whole can't win in December or doesn't look as good in December. I know this year is bad. Absolutely. Cannot make any excuses for how bad he was in December. But look at the last two seasons in Minnesota. He's played well in December. That's and he's
Sam Darnold now.
talent.
It seems more like a Justin Jefferson, Kevin O'Connell thing than it does a Kirk thing.
Oh, yeah. Kevin O'Connell's an amazing coach. And he's going to be, I mean, if you can make Sam Darnold look like a competent quarterback,
you get an MVP vote. I mean, I don't know. Fifth place.
I mean, Justin Jefferson really is where that offense is as well. But that's Minnesota. That's the NFC Championship game. We're not talking about that now. They've asked us, our viewers have asked us to stay on point and focus on the Falcons. I just don't get it. Really, I'm with you, K. Dot. Like, this is, to me, you don't. There's a couple different sayings, right? You don't poke the bear. You don't West Wing lovers, right? You don't tempt the wrath and all that kind of stuff. You just don't do that. Okay, right. You just don't do that.
Right.
All right. Now there is enough offensive playmakers that have been alluded to, Trev. Bijan Robinson being one of the main ones. Washington has had great difficulty playing 4 strong quarters of run defense. How do they turn that around and contain Bijan Robinson, who is an electric runner, much in the same vein as we just played against in Saquon Barkley?
You gotta play sound, fundamental, disciplined defense. Joe Witt's got to call an incredible game plan because Bijan Robinson is shifty, he's fast, and he's powerful at the same time. He's just been in the Atlanta Falcons when they had no idea what to do on the offensive side of the ball and utilize them better. But I don't know what it is. I don't care who's in the front office, who's on the sideline coaching, or who's on the field playing for us. But when it comes to these running backs that are in slumps, they come up against us and they get that slump out of there and they get back on track, whether it's week 18 or week 1, it happens. So that's what I'm a little nervous about. Yes, I know we stopped Saquon Barkley this past Sunday in the second half, but I don't know. I just don't know how to do it. I guess you got to do the same thing, go back and watch that tape, scheme better, but I'm not the guy to really answer that question because I really don't believe in our defense when it comes to the run that much. So as long as I guess we could just cut out the home run plays by Bijan, like no 30-yarder plus runs, I think we have a really good chance of containing that running game. But also you got to account for Michael Penix Jr., who can be a little bit mobile. And then, I don't know, it's just they got a lot of speed and a lot of mobility on the offensive side of the ball, starting with Bijan Robinson. So I just don't want to be the team where Bijan has a career day or shows the world why he was drafted so high and how he's not being utilized or how he should have been utilized at the beginning of the season and last year. So just play fundamentally sound defensive football and don't let explosive runs happen, and that's how you stop the run.
And Bijan Robinson
can do that.
By the way, averaging 5.1 yards a carry against the NFC. Just FYI, God. 7.5 yards reception against the NFC. Yeah. So yeah, maybe this is a game to kind of worry about that. And I think if Atlanta's going to keep this close, it's going to be that because of Bijan Robinson and what he can do. Now, that's not to say they don't have outside threats, K-Dot. They do have a couple of talented wide receivers over there in Atlanta. Washington likely without Lattimore this game. Benjamin St. Juste going to be in, but you do have 2 other cornerbacks who have been playing fairly well in Iggy and Sanders still. How do you like the outside matchup for this team?
Not as well as I want to like it. More like what I want to do going into this game is say, Lattimore, your responsibility is Drake London. We'll take care of the rest as best as we can.
Yep.
But if you can't do that, because the game plan to me has got to be sell out on Bijan and let Penix beat you. And if that's going to be the case where we got to worry about wherever BSJ is anytime he's on the field, or hey, as we also love, hey, where's Benjamin St. Juste? Oh, he's playing 11 yards off the line of scrimmage. Oh, Raven McLeod just caught it for 5 yards. That was a terrible angle. Oh, he's gone in the end zone. Great. Like if we see that, long day. You've got to be able to sell out against Bijan. It's the same thing you say when you go up against like a Saquon Barkley, right? It's you're going to eat. There's no getting around it. You're going to eat. You're going to be able to eat. But what we have to do is make sure you don't get the 60-yard touchdown. You're going to be able to get these carries. You're going to get 5 yards of pop every once in a while. You're going to have these stretches. We just got to bend but don't break and force the rookie to try to beat us in the air. But if our corners are letting these dudes off without any pressing on the line and they can catch the ball in those quick slants and those, that they're going to eat us alive. So, like, you've got to be able to play fundamental defense as far as the secondary and what you're doing with pressing the corners, stack that box, hold Bijan as best as possible, and then, for the love of God, no penalties on third down. No penalties on third down. You're on a razor's edge with this style of football, right? What you cannot do is allow them to elongate a drive because we know Bijan's going to have that 7-yard run followed by a 5-yard run. And you just took a turnover on downs or punt into a field goal like that just because you got the penalty. Like, you cannot let that happen.
Yep, I agree.
One of the reasons why Atlanta was favored highly at the beginning of the season wasn't just because of Kirk Cousins, but because most pundits would have thought that they were just kind of a quarterback away. We talked about some of those offensive weapons, but that defensive side of the ball, Amit, it's not looking bad. They do have some tools over there and a defensive-minded coach. So what can Cliff Kingsbury and Jayden Daniels, we talked a lot about him and being exciting. He's our guy. With 5, we're alive. So tell me, what can this Washington offense do against the Falcons defense?
Yeah, well, you're looking to throw. You're looking to avoid a couple guys, though. So their safeties are pretty solid in coverage overall. So you're looking to avoid Jesse Bates, who's going to be wearing number 3 out there. He's had a really good year. He had a pick 6 last week against the New York Giants. So you're going to want to avoid Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons. They both have given up as many touchdowns as they have picks. So Jesse Bates, 4 touchdowns, 4 picks, leads the team over there. And then you've got Justin Simmons, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, giving up 54% completion, 54.5% completion. You want to avoid them. But their corners, and this includes AJ Terrell, who's their number 1. 5 of them are giving up over a 100 passer rating. They, as a team, 4th highest, in terms of passer rating given up. So you want to be able to throw on these guys and allow Jayden to pick his spots, just like he did last week. It is an easier matchup than Philadelphia. So let's first put ourselves in that mindset, that it is easier. We are not playing the Philadelphia Eagles. You still need to run, of course, but they also only allow 4.3 yards a carry. It doesn't matter if they're home or away. They seem to just get the job done consistently there. While you are throwing the ball, you need to look out for Jayden Daniels. He is one of 2 players in the NFL with over 130 tackles and 5 sacks. One of 2. Okay. And to put that in perspective, Bobby Wagner has 118 tackles, doesn't have that many sacks. And Frankie Louvu, who we all love, 89 tackles with his 8 sacks. So 130 tackles, 131 tackles plus 5 sacks. Look out for Jayden Daniels. Maybe a name that you don't typically think about or know. So that's what you really want to look out for. And also them on the road, again, pass defense-wise, very different. At home, they give up about a 90, 91 passer rating. On the road, it's 107. So, again, you want to be able to throw on these guys. But like we were talking about with Brian Robinson, it's about getting yourself into 2nd and 6. You still commit to it. I will never, ever say abandon the run from the jump and just let Jayden do everything. No. We talk about complementary football, offense helping defense. How about offense helping offense? Brian Robinson, Jeremy McNichols, Chris Rodriguez, whomever, getting 3-4 yards at a time. Doesn't need to be a whole lot, but 3-4 yards, you will be fine. You will be able to do what you want to in the pass game as a result, and then Jayden can use his legs if necessary. But that's what you're looking out for on that side of the ball there, Nathan.
Awesome breakdown. And that's exactly why we have the 2 gentlemen here from District Divided on, because they bring some great, analysis here to a couple bozos up here on top here with Trev and I from Ref the District. Make sure you do go out and check out District Divided. They will be, I believe, planning on doing their show tomorrow. So make sure you tune in to them tomorrow. We're breaking down the game right now. Sunday Night Falcons is what we're calling this. It is going to be a little bit warmer, Trev, 59 degrees, but possibly some rain in the forecast. What team does that benefit more?
The rain. I don't think it benefits anybody.
Yeah, we talk about rain being a great equalizer here on Ref the District. So, but the temperature, it's warmer. So a lot of it's been made is, can Jayden Daniels play in the cold? Eagles found out that is a yes. He can.
He can play in the rain too. It's just going to change the whole dynamic of the game. We could be sitting here talking about, airing it out for their bad secondary and then them running the ball and our bad run defense, but it could just be completely different because of the rain. We have no idea. But I think no matter what the weather is, we'll get it done.
If I could just jump in, though, just a slight plus for Michael Penix here. And I do expect us to win, just to be clear, but a slight plus. Him playing at Washington in that Pacific Northwest region, he has played in a lot of rain, and he was able to put up the numbers that he was able to put up and still throw a beautiful ball while he's at it. It's just his second NFL start. It is a primetime game. Let's see how he handles it. He's proven to be a gamer in college. Does that translate over? And with the rain, I think it phases him less than you would hope it would for a guy in his second ever NFL start.
Mike H here. Falcons have a running game advantage. Skins have 2,290 yards rushing, and Falcons have 1,866. Please explain. Trev has his hand raised, and I'm going to get to you, Trev. But real quick, I'm just going to have one word: superstar is what it comes down to when it comes to who you think might have the advantage. And Bijan Robinson is a superstar for the Falcons. So that might be one aspect. But Trev, you wanted to tackle this one?
Yeah, why we have more rushing yards. Our quarterback is more of a rusher than the Atlanta Falcons quarterbacks. And Michael Penix's second game didn't really put up that much running. He didn't do 1,000 yards in one game. Yeah. They're just relying on
Bijan known to not be a running quarterback too.
Yeah, Tyler Algier over there too. So that's the reason why. It's because we have a running quarterback as well as a running back.
Yeah, I mentioned before, Jayden Daniels, the leading rusher for Washington.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick on that superstar thought here. Okay. And this really, it comes down to perspective. We don't watch all the Falcons games, right? We only get to see the highlights. We only get to hear things. Maybe you're K Dot and you have fantasy, and so you're watching, you're seeing these stats come across, and you got your guy throwing the ball to the opposing team, but you still see where those touchdowns are going to, and a large part of that comes down to, like I said, that superstar. K Dot, who are the superstars on Washington that need to excel to get them? Because this is a win and end game for Washington. Now we'll talk about the other scenario here in a little bit, but really they'd control their own destiny. If they beat the Falcons, they're guaranteed to be in, and that potentially opens them up for the 6th seed. So who are the superstars, not named Jayden Daniels, of course, who have to show out for Washington here against Atlanta on Sunday night?
There aren't any, but are you asking me like who's can moonlight as a superstar for a game? Like,
there you go.
We're doing? Like, it's just, I don't think I need any superstars. I just need everybody to do the job. Like, just be confident in your job. Like, that's all I need. If you just bring me basic competence and stick to the game plan, we can be okay. We can be okay. I don't need any heroes. There's no heroes in this. I need no heroes. I just need a fundamentally good game. Because if we're relying on anybody else, I need to see something from somebody I haven't seen before. Whether it be the rookies that we were talking about earlier. Is this the Luke McCaffrey breakout? Is this the Ben Sinnott breakout? Maybe that's the thing. But like offensively, it's going to be centered around what it is that Jaden's going to do. We all just know that that's going to be the case. That's what's going to happen, right? And then defensively, like, just don't get beat. Like, don't be the villain. Don't be the villain. BSJ, if it's raining outside and Raymond McLeod catches that slant, can you make sure your leverage is right to make the play and you're not slipping and falling all over the damn place? Like, that's what I want, is just people to play fundamentally sound. Like, if there's anybody that we can look at to, like, all right, maybe they can be the game wrecker, of course you're probably going to point to Frankie Louvu, right? But, like, if Frankie's playing the game that I want him to play, or the game that maybe he gets some opportunities if we jump out to a lead and we can start pinning our ears back and just destroy him. But that's really the only way that I see anybody really standing out for us, is he's one of the rookies that we haven't seen before, or we give them one-dimensional and Louvu gets to start teeing off. One of the guys gets to tee off, either whether it's Louvu, Fowler, one of those guys gets to start teeing off and dudes. That was the only way that I see anybody like really becoming big or moonlighting, as I say, as a superstar in this game.
All right. Well, Amit, continuing our music trend from earlier, K Dot says no, but how about you? Do you need a hero?
Yeah, I do. Where's 94? I need Deron Payne to have a big game, right? So if we're not expecting Marshawn Lattimore to play, and that's how it is currently trending, right? Well, you need to step up to help out the weak link. Look, I mean, we do our best not to like bash specific players, but it's clear that Benjamin St-Juste does not have confidence. His snap counts have been going down. When he goes in, he looks like a deer in headlights right now. It's understandable. He's going through a rough time. You got to help your teammates out. And in order to do that, Deron Payne, you got paid. Need you to push. Make sure that Bijan Robinson doesn't get going. K-Dot, I think you hit the nail on the head. You had mentioned stop the run, sell out on Bijan. Since the bye, which happened week 12 for them, I think Zach Robinson, Raheem Morris, etc., they got in a room. They were like, what do we need to do better? How about getting Bijan Robinson the ball? Since then, 26 carries, 22 carries, 22 carries, 22 carries. They're feeding the guy. How many games did he have with 22 carries before the bye? 0. They have flipped what they're doing. So if you can help stop that run and create obvious situations, you can now help a Benjamin St-Juste in coverage. You can give him one extra person to help out. So that's the person I'm looking to step up. I'm not putting it on the rookie Johnny Newton, nor am I putting it on Jonathan Allen, who is expected to be back, and I'm hoping he is. Even a few snaps would be useful. But I'm looking at Deron Payne to step up for us in this spot in prime time to help out the rest of the defense and be a star that I feel he can be.
Jonathan Allen may or may not be back. That was a question that was asked earlier as far as things were concerned there. No news and notes that I didn't spring up on Trev unless he's ready and gives me the thumbs up. We can go to it. But if not, that's all right as well. Washington is coming in here with the chance that they don't even have to play all out. Now, I prefer, and I think that Dan Quinn would get there, but Mike had asked the question, if we lose and the Bucs lose, we're still in. Absolutely. If the Bucs lose or the Falcons lose one more game, you're guaranteed a playoff spot. So that is how they can go in. The Buccaneers will play earlier in the day. They play against Carolina. They lose that game. And then Washington goes into Sunday Night Football, and they're playing even more with house money, as K-Dot had mentioned earlier, which I think that they could even be even more dangerous because there's less pressure on them, and they can have more fun. And you can see more of that smiling on the side. Santiago pointing out that Deron Payne is battling a back injury.
Deal with it.
Yeah. At this point, I think the saying goes, everybody is injured at this point. One of the things.
Can I get a quick question now?
Absolutely.
If Tampa does lose against Carolina, does that change your opinion on whether or not John Allen or Marshawn, any of these guys should come back in this game?
I probably still play Jonathan Allen a couple snaps. Just he needs that game energy, right? That experience. You're not playing him probably more than a handful of snaps anyways. Keep him on that just to get him game day ready, like the preseason, like you would he played in the preseason, right? Why not play him? Because he's coming back from an injury. You need to kind of test it in live action. Not practice, not with the black jersey on that says he's no contact. I need him getting there and pushing guys around. And if he can, great. And if he can't, then he needs to rest. And you don't play him against Dallas. And then you let him rip it in again in the playoffs. Trev, stink face.
Yeah, so no. If the Bucs lose, I really don't care if Marshawn misses this game or even maybe the next game too, because CeeDee Lamb is out for the rest of the season too. So it's like, if Benjamin St-Juste can't cover Jonathan Mingo, cut him as soon as the regular season is over with. Okay, so yeah, so if Bucs lose, I don't really have any worries about who our star players aren't playing and who are playing.
Yeah, Gregory says, yeah, you want the 6th seed, you got to play who's willing or who's healthy enough to play.
I completely agree. I think it's go time. I think you are pushing all in right now, and K-Dot and I, we talk, and you guys too, of course, like about identity of the team, who we want to be. You want to go out and win every single game. Again, Dan Campbell was asked. We're not trying to be Dan Campbell, just to be clear, but it's along the lines of the reason we cite him a lot is that he is consistent, and we want consistency from Dan Quinn. I believe we have consistency. So when it comes to something like this, should these guys play? If they're able to, I think you do play them. I would be nervous. You want the 6th seed, like Gregory had mentioned, you'd flashed on the screen there, Nathan. I also think it's important to give them, like you said, Nathan, live action, because if Marshawn misses the next couple games and then all of a sudden he's expected to be CB1 round 1 of the playoffs, that's a lot. That's a lot. So if he's able to go, even if it's maybe a compromised number of snaps, do it. Like, because you still need reps, you still need chemistry with the rest of the secondary, the linebackers. That's important. Jonathan Allen needs to hit somebody. Somebody needs to hit him so that he feels that he's like, all right, cool. Now I'm juiced for the next one. I think it's go time.
It would be something. These two teams meet Sunday night. Yeah, Deron Payne was mentioned earlier. I'm going to give a shout out to a ref, the district favorite here. Sheldon Day is somebody who we have been quite impressed with. A journeyman, a guy who most of us had never heard of before coming here and then showing out, looking like a quality rotation player for Washington. Hopefully he has himself a good day on Sunday as well. Let's go ahead and get to our game predictions. If you're listening right now, let's see those hit the chat. Of course, if you're watching this video on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and K-Dot.
Share. It is a shit, baby. Share.
I'm so loving hitting that button right now. It's great. I love it. I love it. I love it. We might need to get that one into the sound machine here so we can have it going. Let's start with you, Trav, the only one on the district team to pick Philadelphia. Who wins on Sunday night, the Falcons or the Commanders?
Commanders, 23-13. I think it's going to be, if it's going to rain, it's going to be a sloppy, kind of a boring game. We have a tendency to playing down to the level of competition when it comes to these bad teams. I feel like that might be the case again, but we still will have the better outcome and the better showing. Will win 23-13 Sunday.
All right, here in the chat, Gregory's going to go 23-20 Washington. Mike is 34-24 Washington. Joel 38-20. Commanders winning that one, and we'll get to the rest here. But first, K-Dot, also a member of your team, the only member of your team to pick Washington over Philadelphia. The losers, Ahmed and Nathan, will go last in this pick here. K-Dot, who do you got Sunday night?
Gotta tell you, I'm less confident this week than I was last week, being completely honest with you. I see one of two things happening. I either see that we get the jump on them early, make them one-dimensional, and we have ourselves a wonderful Sunday night, or it's messy, it's sloppy, and maybe they pull one out, right? Let's go with positivity. So let's go 35-17 Washington. Okay. And that prediction will probably change by the time you hear District Divided tomorrow.
Yeah, do tune in to District Divided tomorrow to get more insight on these Washington Commanders. Real deal going Commanders 28-21. Left hand up for Roger, 20-7. Jordan going the opposite direction. The Falcons 20-14, despite the Sean Taylor profile picture taking the Falcons there.
Yeah, what?
Now, Amit, this could be a letdown game. You had an emotional victory over a division rival, last second victory. Are they in a letdown mode?
I don't know that they're in a letdown mode. I could certainly see a slow start early on. I do think we win. I'm going to be at the game. I'm very excited for it and hoping to see a victory. I'm going 21-17. I would love to make it 24-17. I don't know that we can make field goals, Nathan. So I'm not predicting a field goal is made. So 21-17, both teams looking to run. We do begin to air it out just a little bit of success over there. But based on what the Falcons are doing, fewer possessions for each team. I think it's a bit more lower scoring. I'm going 21-17 Washington in this one.
Santiago's going high scoring 35-17. The Commanders. Timothy 42-10. Some excitement coming here from the viewers. JG 45-17 Washington. Roger 38-10. This is a game Washington, I think, needs to win, even if It's not a playoff spot on the line with the Buccaneers playing earlier. That game doesn't matter to this team. Washington is focused on the Atlanta Falcons. They want to win this game. It does keep them in line with the, potentially getting the 6th seed, but more importantly, that's where their mindset is. That's what Dan Quinn and this coaching staff is instilling in them. Just take that game in front of you and win the game in front of you. And I love that mentality. And I think Washington does win this one. The rain and the running game, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to go, you've made a great point, changed my score here on the fly on it, because you're right. I don't know about the kicking situation, especially in the rain, especially at FedEx. I just hope that it doesn't kick us in the butt. I'm reminded, by the way, of the game following the Chicago game, where it was an emotional last-second victory against Chicago, of course, with the Hail Mary there. They went and they played up in New York. They just barely won that game, in my opinion, 27-22. Now, Trev, we did call that one a boring game. It was just based off of the score, but Washington always felt in control. It just kind of felt methodical, just felt like they were out there doing business, something we're not used to here in Washington. In fact, I'm wearing the shirt that I was gifted to for Christmas, the I Survived the Snyder era shirt. EP Claus got me that one. And so we're not used to boring wins, but I feel like that's what we're going to have on Sunday. Another boring victory. The score will be closer than you think. It will be 28-22, but Washington wins this one. No field goals, though. Extra points might be even dicey as well. We'll see how that goes.
Zane's got it.
Zane might have it, but I don't trust a kicker at FedEx. Santiago thinking B-Rob will redeem himself. Real Deal saying, predicting for Stoner 21-17 Washington. We'll definitely get Stoner's vote in this at some point. We appreciate everybody tuning in here tonight. Give me player of the game, just the name, before we tag out. Start with who's ready?
Zach Ertz.
Zach Ertz for Trev. I heard Terry. Who's Terry?
Terry McLaurin.
K-Dot says Terry.
I'll go Deron Payne. I'll double down. He does it.
Double down. I'm going to go with Frankie Louvu. He's going to create 2 turnovers this game. That's what I'm looking forward to here. I appreciate everybody tuning in to episode 205 of Ref the District. I'm Nathan. That's Trev. Amit and K-Dot come from District Divided. Make sure you hit them up on their channel. Fantastic DC Sportscast, but more specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. You can catch them on Fridays and, of course, after the game. Because this is a Sunday Night Football game, we will not be doing a live instant reaction. I will be bringing you a not so instant reaction on, actually I will not, because my Monday is entirely 2-packed. So don't look for an instant reaction. I'm not going to make that promise, but maybe on Tuesday, who knows? We appreciate everybody jumping in. Normally we stream live every Wednesday here on YouTube and Facebook at 7:30 Eastern. That's normally again on Wednesday. Today we did it on Thursday. We appreciate everybody joining here on the day after Christmas. Hopefully your holidays are going well. We'll be back to Wednesday next week on New Year's Day. And we do appreciate everybody jumping in here again. We're brought to you by Don't Sleep Energy and Bet Online. And until next time,
you know what to do.
Be a
fan.
Oh.
Yeah.